Good evening, and welcome to Riderpiece Theater. Me, Alistair Dayhawk, and tonight, me proud to present Kamen Rider Gotcha, episode 39. Kiddos, we have entered the world of rainbows and Jurassic Park. Because in this episode, we have dinosaurs to rainbows to a very, very, very pissed off Abyssalis King. So let us begin our tale of rainbows and dinosaurs and pissed off king with this scene in the alchemy school that only has 4 students and 1 lousy teacher. Everybody is celebrating the rebirth of Hopper 1 and the other 2 chemies from the dead. And Hotaro, cringy as ever, was about to shout because there was like a close-up of him, doing this cringy face reaction before he does the shouting match. And when he does, you see these 3 chemies all of a sudden, bright rainbow colors. And everybody was blinded, and people were wondering, like, why are they doing this? Like, what's going on here? And Minato Sensei said that it has to do with the powers of the 101 chemy. And Kyoka further explains that due to the powers of Rainbow Gotcha and its rainbow breath, the Skittle power, if you will, breathed life into these dead chemies, and they were able to, come back to life. And Spanner, as usual, he's never happy. He's not in the celebration mood, but he brought out the important reality that the king is still out there, and he will go after the newly acquired dragon. And Hotaro says, yes, he will go after, the dragon, but at the same time, he may be going after the last 2 chemy cards. And this is where Minato Sensei steps in and says, you know what, you're right. That's why I'm entrusting this final mission to you guys. You guys find the last 2 chemy cards before the king does. And Minato Sensei, I have to say this. You've been assigning these kids for the last 39 episodes with chemy hunts. And I'm not going to go into a rant again. You guys must be very, very tired of me ranting about Minato Sensei. So I'm going to just stop here. So Minato Sensei gives the kids their mission while he and Spanner has to go to the Alchemy Association and give their report, which, reluctantly Minato Sensei doesn't want to, because we all know by now that the Alchemy Association is pretty much a useless bunch of old men in hoods. But he has no choice. We all have our masters, right? So as those 2 go to see the council, the kids says, hey, let's just go and hunt down the last 2 chemy cards. They're all excited. And Rangit decides, hey, let's turn it into a competition. Whoever finds the 2 chemy cards first, they get a prize, which is the Rainbow Dragon, if you will. And so after that, the challenge has been set. And we move on to a very, very pissed off king. Because in this scene, the king is reliving his defeat from last week. And he is pissed off at the fact that his other half, if you will, has officially rejected him. And this is where number 3 comes in and begs the king, please give me your orders because I'm hungry for battle. This power you gave me is not, it makes me go berserk. I need to fight something. And the king was like, oh, really? So he decides to give number 3 another power boost. And as he gives her his power boost, his power, if you will, you have Weird Sister number 1, who's been played by a 9-year-old. She steps in and asks the king, like, I think we need the master to return and help us because we've been losing so badly. Like, we need help. And the king gets more pissed off, and decides to take his anger on his servants. And the king says, I'm gonna take the fight to Hotaro, and I'm just like, I'm so pissed off. Like, I think we have to finish this. Like, he's literally pissed off because Hotaro took what's supposedly his half, and it rejected him because of Hotaro. So the king wants payback. So we move on from the angry king to Kaijiki, who just came out from the character closet, and he is, for some reason, in a random parking lot in the middle of the night, trying to search for something. And all of a sudden, it gets attacked, and then we get into the opening credits, and then we move on to the first scene after the opening credits, and Kaijiki looks like he got eaten and spit out because he looks slimed. And I don't know if he got knocked out because it was the next day. So I'm like, wow. So this attacker, this assailant attacked you, and you were knocked out cold in the middle of the night in some random parking lot. I mean, it's Japan. It's considered to be one of the safest countries, but still, though, like, damn, did you slept all night in the middle of the parking lot? Ugh. Anyways, Kaijiki sees Hotaro and his friends, and he recounts his encounter with this attacker. And Hotaro's like, oh, what happened to you? You smell funny. What the hell happened? So Kaijiki tells him what happened last night, and you see Kaijiki, with his sketchbook of his assailant, if you will, and he tells Hotaro, like, hey, like, if you find this creature, please let me know. And he just dashes away. And that's the last time we ever see Kaijiki at all. So this is like, Kaijiki only has 2 scenes in this episode, and he runs back to the character closet where he belongs. Yeah. So as Kaijiki returns to the character closet, Hotaro and Sabi, if you will, decides to hack a security camera, and the Alliance sees through his tablet what happened to Kaijiki and who was the assailant, and it was the Raptor Chemy, one of the last 2 chemy cards. So Hotaro was excited that, hey, the Raptor has revealed itself. But at the same time, I was like, Hotaro, I know that the chemies, you treat them as your kids, but your kid attacked your best friend. I like, don't you feel a little bit bad? Because I would be excited, but at the same time, I'd be like, damn, I feel bad for my best friend here. But anyways, the kids are happy that the Raptor has revealed itself. So they move on to the plan, if you will. So speaking of the plan, we go from the parking lot to Jurassic Park, because Hotaro is dressed up as the clever girl dinosaur hunter with a plate of play food, if you will, and you have Sabi and his drone with his 2 T-Rexes, Renge and Kuro, dressed up as T-Rexes. And of course it's Renge's plan. And the plan was to lure the Raptor Chemy out of hiding and just have the plate of food just there as the trap, and I don't know what the two T-Rexes are for, but maybe to scare it or to submission. I have no idea. But it's hilarious because the girls are dressed up as T-Rexes, and then Kudo was like, why am I dragged into this? Like, this plan is stupid. And she tried to roar because, Renge was like, can you try to roar for us? And she did, and there was like silence, and Kudo's like, that's it. I'm not going to be a part of this stupid plan. So she angrily just strips off her T-Rex costume and just turns around and just stomps away. And as she stomps away, you see the costume just being dragged. And I thought it was very funny. Was it intentional or not? I don't know. But either way, it was pretty funny. So we move on to the angry, annoyed Kudo with the poor T-Rex costume to Weird Sister number 2. Because apparently Professor Kyoka has sent her to the grocery store on the other side of town where Mama-san was spotted. And number 2 is like, I can't believe Kyoka had me go to the stupid grocery store thing. Like, what is the purpose of that? Of going to the grocery store, help her turn her into a human, if you will. And as she was murmuring to herself, she encounters Weird Sister number 1, who's been played by a 9-year-old, and she asks like, "So you're playing human now after you betrayed us?" And number 2 is like, "Oh, what the hell are you doing here?" And number 1 says, "I have come to take you back. I'm willing to forgive you." And number 2 was like, really? You want me back? But what's going on here? Because the last time we saw each other, you wanted me dead. And you said that if I ever see you again, then you're dead meat. So what's changed? And she's right. I mean, she's on edge. She's being cautious right now. Like, what's going on here? What's changed? And we all know the truth, guys. I believe the reason why number 1 is willing to forgive her and have her back into the fold is because I believe she's trying to do a coup. Yeah, she wants to do a coup on the poor king. Because how many times has number 1 had been asking the king that, hey, when are we going to have Master Greyon back? Are you going to rescue him or something? And every time she asks, she gets rejected. So that means that, yeah, the king is not worthy of me serving him since he is not going to help rescue the master. So I have to overthrow him, if you will. So that's the reason why I think number 1 wants her back. And then all of a sudden, Weird Sister number 3 shows up, and she got the wrong idea because she's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, why are you here? And are you trying to take her away from me too? So she got the wrong idea, and she decides to attack number 2. And you see her fight for a little bit, and then for whatever reason she tries to attack number 1, but luckily she dodged it. And number 3 decides, well, I'm gonna go attack number 2 then. But luckily Kudo steps in and she's like, yeah, you need to stop. And number 1 was like, what the hell are you doing here? And Kudo said, well, number 2 is with us now, and I'm gonna protect her. And that's what I do. That's what I'm going to do. So Kudo transforms, and we see number 3 versus Kudo, and you can tell that she has gotten stronger thanks to the recent power boost. And you can tell that Kudo is having a tough time defeating her. And this is where number 2 steps in between and says, I have an errand to deal with, so I have no time to deal with you guys. So she retreats with Kudo. They teleport themselves away, and number 3 collapses, and number 1 is just stood there and just gave an ugly look. So after that encounter, we move back to Jurassic Park, which ended in failure because the raptor chemy was nowhere to be found. The food did not lure the raptor in. And Hopper 1 looked like it was trying to eat the damn thing. And then all of a sudden, here comes the raptor chemy, and just ate everything, stole everything, and just runs away, which causes Hotaro, Sabi, and Renge to chase after it. And they are led to this abandoned building. And as they go further into the building, you see this room, this space where not only that the raptor chemy is staying at, and mind you, all the stuff that it stole, but also the last chemy, the ancient fish chemy, if you will, is swimming in this mini pool, if you will. So those two have been living together for quite some time. And so they found the last 2 chemy cards, and then all of a sudden Hotaro disappears, and then we get into the scene where Hotaro gets transported to this open field, and he meets the king, who has its hands on the rainbow dragon. And the king was like, I finally have the piece of me. And Hotaro was like, yeah, it's not yours anymore. And the king was like, look, I'm the creator of the chemies. I decide whether or not they live or die. It's within my right to do so. And Hotaro, of course, says, well, first of all, your power does not work on us anymore. And secondly, just because you're the creator of the chemies doesn't mean that you have the right to dictate how they live or die. Because at the end of the day, just like humans, chemies are living beings that are allowed to live. And the king did not like that response. And it believes that you, Hotaro, have corrupted their true nature, their true purpose. And I'm going to show you. So it decides to take the last 2 chemy cards and try to turn them into amalgam. However, the dragon used the power of the rainbow skittles, the rainbow breath, to cancel the negative effects of what the king was trying to do, turn it into amalgam. So the spell broke, causing not only those 2 chemies getting a power boost, but also causing them to go into the cards. So Hotaro has finally achieved his mission in collecting all the chemy cards. And so the king is pissed off. The dragon is released, so it's back on its side, on Hotaro's side. And the king was like, I hate you. He doesn't really say that, but the king was like, you have corrupted their purpose, because their purpose in life is to cause chaos. It's their destinies to become amalgams. But Hotaro, on the other hand, is the opposite. And I already said what he said before. And now we get to the final showdown, because Hotaro transforms into Rainbow Gacha, and the fight went from the field to this abandoned warehouse that they always use in every single Kamen Rider season, and also Sentai, because Toei owns the warehouse. So it gets transported, and then well, before that, I forgot to mention that Hotaro did the gacha speech, which, typical Hotaro. And so, before I get I'm already ahead of myself here, but before I move forward to the fight, like I said before, Hotaro does the gacha speech, and then all of a sudden, you see all 101 chemy cards appear and attack briefly at the king, and then we see the entire collection in front of Hotaro, and Hotaro decides to use the rainbow dragon's rainbow breath on all of the cards, so all the cards gets a massive power boost, and then he turns into Rainbow Gacha and gets teleported into this abandoned warehouse, and we get to see an ability that Rainbow Gacha can do, which is he has the ability of summoning his own versions of Gacha. For example, like, how Legend, The End, and of course Decade, they have the power to summon Kamen Riders, right? In Rainbow Gacha's case, it could summon any rider form from its own form, Gacha form. For example, it could summon its basic form, and it could summon its ultimate form. In this case, however, Hotaro decides to summon his Apare skateboard form and his gold mecha form. And you see all three forms together. The king was like, how in the hell did you do that? And then Hotaro gives his two rider forms, his buddies, a power boost, because not only he can summon his previous forms, but also give him a power boost. And all three of them go after the king, and we get to see this slaughter of a fight. Like, the king was meant to be the final boss, at least one of the final bosses, but it gets creamed rather clean and easily. And during the fight, the king was like, okay, I understand you. You're an idiot that does not embrace the power of malice. And Hotaro's like, you're wrong. You don't know me. I'm a Kamen Rider who wants to protect humanity and chemies alike. And I will become the top chemist in the entire world. But that's not only that, but I think the reason why the powers of malice or hatred does not touch Hotaro is because he still has his innocence. He is pure of heart. And if a person has a pure of heart, it usually means that that person cannot be corrupted. And that's pretty much the main reason why Hotaro could not turn into a Amalgam. As close as he was in becoming one, I don't see him turning into a Amalgam due to his pure of heart and innocence, but he was in a lot of pain losing Hopper 1, but luckily, the talking egg stepped in and turned him into an egg instead. But it's either here or there. And then we get the Rainbow Fever, and the king's final words were, I still don't understand you, and it just explodes. And I'm like, Your Majesty, even I don't know. Like, I don't understand Hotaro. And I don't want to. So, in this episode, we get not only one, but two celebrations. Because the second celebration, finally, after 39 episodes, all the chemy cards have been collected and the king has been destroyed. So everybody is celebrating, but of course Spanner, as usual, was like, look, yes, the king is dead, and yes, we have collected every single card, but the other two sisters are still out there, so it's not over yet until they are captured, which is understandable. But Spanner, just celebrate a little. Just take the victory, please. God only knows you need your W's, please. And as, the alchemists are celebrating, you see a moment between Kyoka and number 2. And as you know, she's a doll and she can't eat. However, she took a bite out of this meatball, whatever, and she ate it, said it was tasty, and she made the decision of, yes, I want to be a human, which surprises Kyoka. And then we get to see Spanner and Minato Sensei leave the classroom, and this is where Minato Sensei made a decision of his own, where he says, this current alchemy association sucks. They never helped us. They just stood by and did nothing as we struggled dealing with the king and Master Greyon. They didn't do anything to help. So I think it's time for a new association to take over. And he is willing to do that. And he is asking Spanner if he can help him. Spanner, mind you, has not said anything. And we get to the last 2 scenes of this episode with the 2 remaining sisters, number 1 and number 3. And they both want their family back together. Number 1 wants the master back, and number 3 wants number 2 back. So they want their family back together. And then we lead to the final scene in the Ouroboros realm. The gate is acting funky again, even though the gate was supposed to be sealed. So why is the gate acting funky? And just like what happened with the Abyssalis King and his debut, the gate is acting up and then unleashes these 2 monsters coming from the gate, and you hear evil laughter, if you will. And that's the end of the episode and the arc, apparently, because now there's no more chemy hunting anymore. There's no there's no chemy hunting anymore. So that means that we have reached the end game, because we only have 10 episodes left, and we still don't know who the hell Hotaro's father is. There's no clues of who the hell he is or where he's at after everything that's been going down. Where is Fuga? Fuga hasn't shown up yet, even though in the next episode we get to see Fuga, but is it a memory or is it the real Fuga? And if it's the real Fuga, hopefully we get some answers as to why he hasn't revealed himself after, the defeat of the Master and the arrival of the Abyssalis King. Like, why did he remain in hiding after everything? So hopefully we get answers there. But in this episode overall, it was okay. Aside from the goofy stuff, we gotten a lot of information. Like, obviously the sisters want to be back together, but number 2 is like, I don't think I can anymore, and she wants to be a human now. The king is destroyed for now. We get to see Rainbow Gotcha's abilities, where he can, summon, other versions of itself, and also give power boosts to them. And then um yeah, and the collection has been completed, and the overthrow of the old regime of the Alchemy Association has begun, because Minato Sensei says it's time, because I had enough. And other than that, I think that is it, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and tell me give me your thoughts and opinions about this episode. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did I miss anything? Because even though I have my notes in front of me, I sometimes forget a couple of things, Easter eggs, whatever. Please give a like if you like it, and please subscribe. And we're on the way home, guys. We're on the home stretch now, because now this arc is over. We're getting into the final arc, and I'm just excited to not watch Gacha anymore after the final episode, because my god, I can't take the writing anymore. I cannot stand Hotaro. I really can't stand Minato Sensei. I just, the writing of the show, it really does suck. It really does. And I'm trying my best to look at the bright side, like, is there anything good? But there's some, don't get me wrong, but it's just there are times with the writing, it's just, you missed the mark here, you could have done something there. But it's just the characters as well. It's just some of them are underutilized, and oh god, Hotaro is just one of the worst. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and give a like if you like it, and please subscribe. I will see you all on the other side of Oblivion, maybe. Johnny.